tell us why you're confident that they are good, or how confident you are that they're good. I mean, what did you do to check this out? How robust are those results? How confident are you of your conclusions on this?
Actually, Clive, the more I work in this sector, the more I'm inclined to say the very fact that poor parents are choosing them is almost enough. And obviously, one can't convince skeptics of that, but that's actually the more I work on it, the more I think about it. But we did a variety of things in the research, and the nice thing is other people now are doing similar research, or some indeed funded by the Templeton Foundation too, and other groups are doing similar work, and they're all coming up with roughly the same sort of findings. We tested 24,000 children in maths, English, and one other subject, Hindi in Delhi, Urdu in Hyderabad, Kiswahili in Kenya, and so on. We tested 24,000 children. In every single case, apart from Urdu in Hyderabad, every single case, you had the government schools here, the raw schools, you had the private, unrecognized, the ones that are off the radar altogether up here, and then the private recognized schools a few percentage points higher. These were the, if you like, the raw schools that we got. The government schools doing very badly, the unrecognized schools doing quite well, the recognized schools doing slightly better. And then when you controlled for all the background variables as a statistician and econometrician, you should, still there was a huge gap. Usually the gap between the two types of private, the unrecognized and the recognized, all for the poor, but that usually get narrowed completely, so they were unrecognizable. They were undifferentiable, but there was a huge gap between those and the government schools. A whole standard deviation, probably 15 percentage points difference. So a child might get, statistically, if you took an average child with the characteristics of the average characteristics of the sample, put him, her into a government school, they might get 30 percentage points. Put the same child with the same background, the same intelligence, the same parents, put him or her into a private school, they might get 45%. It's that sort of huge difference. We sent researchers into the schools to see if the teachers were teaching there. We found teacher absenteeism was much, much higher in the government schools than the private schools. And we also looked at some inputs into the schools. So overall, you get a picture that the private schools are definitely doing better in terms of results. And
that's true of more than one country. I mean, that's true.
That's true in all the countries. Again, the only exception, so Urdu in Hyderabad I told you about, and that's probably because Urdu would be taught in the mosques, the sort of equivalent of the Sunday schools and the afternoon schools in the mosques. So it wasn't the government school effect, it was a mosque effect you were seeing. Huh. And in China, the government schools were marginally better than the private schools. Huh. But it was a different situation there. The private schools were because of access rather than the quality.
I see.
That was an interesting case there, yeah. So, you can feel pretty confident, actually. And then other people repeating these studies.
Right.
There's a big survey in India by the biggest NGO there, Pratham, in India. And their ACER, the Annual Survey of Educational Report, they show private schools outperforming the government schools every year. I think their raw scores show 15 percentage point difference, controlling for the background variables, 9 percentage points advantage on average. It's not surprising, but it's absolutely clear.
Okay. Now, did you get a sense of what's going wrong in the public schools, or to put it another way, what the private schools are doing right? You just mentioned absenteeism. Is that I mean, anyone who's familiar with India knows that absenteeism in the state school sector has long been recognized as a huge problem. Do you find that replicated in other countries? Is that one of the main things?
Yeah, it's just this notion of a government job. Government job is for life in these schools. You can't be fired, you can't be sacked, you can't be removed. A story about this: when we went with the BBC crew into the shanty town called Makoko. And we filmed in the low-cost private schools, these schools built above stilts standing over the black waters of the Lagos Lagoon. And then we went into the government school, the public school, and we went with the district administrator. We went announced. They knew we were coming. We had a set time when we were going to arrive. And we went with the BBC camera crew. And the very first class we entered, the teacher was fast asleep at his desk. Absolutely fast asleep. The children jumped up and started singing, "Welcome to you, BBC crew." Still the teacher slept. And And one girl then, he woke him up and he bleary-eyed, sort of, you know.
And you got this on camera?
We've got this on camera. We've shown it on BBC, and it's going to be on Fox TV. I was on the Stossel show this afternoon. We'll be showing it again on Fox, whatever it is, Fox News on Stossel next week. But what I say on the programme there is, I would not have allowed the BBC to show this film. You know, I would not have been morally, you know, I would not have allowed.
If you thought it was exceptional.
It was not the exception. It was only because you see that every single time you go into a government school. If not a teacher asleep, then an empty desk, you know, teacher not there. Or, you know, 3 teachers sitting together, reading the newspapers, doing their knitting or whatever, while the class just gets on with their stuff. Anyone who knows, you know, and it's not surprising. You know, a very high-ranking official in the Indian government, and people speak privately to you all this time like this. He said to me, there's not one single parent in India today who sends his or her child to a government school by choice. It's well known, and it's down to that accountability. In the private schools, teachers are accountable to the principal, who's accountable to the parents. If the margins are so small in these schools that if 2 or 3 parents leave, then the profit margin's gone. You know, that's it. You know, so it's even more. You know, it's a very tight business. You've got to make sure every parent is happy. Therefore, if a teacher doesn't turn up or is asleep, first of all find out if there's a problem. If there's a problem, you might address it, but otherwise you fire them. In the government school, they stay.
Right.